Have you hit record now? Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Rich.
And my name is James.
How are we doing? Are you closer to the 50 big ones?
A bit better than this time last week.
How many points for the week in the end?
As in
actually, this is a new week, isn't it? Because it wasn't actually 2 game weeks for Sky Fantasy, but there were 2 separate.
65 from the 6 players I got to be quite happy with, which was on top of the 35 in the first weekend. So I'm on exactly 100 so far since overhaul.
Okay, I was on 41 in the first week and 82 this week, which is a stormer. Yeah,
we know why that is.
It's not because I captained Diogo Jota, because I didn't captain
but you do own
Diogo Jota. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've got to be happy because after the first half a week of overhaul, I was around at 10k and I'd stayed at 9.5 or something like that. So I didn't make any particular movement. Whereas this week, I've jumped up 4,000 places to just inside top 6k. Yeah, so I've got to be happy with that because it really did feel like I was yo-yoing between 5k and 10k for basically the whole 3/4 of the first half of the season. Ended up doing okay. I went with Ivan Toney on Saturday over Saliba, which ended up being 1 point in it because Toney decided to get himself booked. Thank you, Ivan Toney. No surprise there. But I'm happy I went with the potential upside, to be honest with you on that one.
There's a joke there and such refrain from doing it.
Yeah. I'm happy I went with the potential upside. But here's the interesting thing. It then came to the Sunday and my defender had outscored my attacking player, albeit by 1 point, but my defender had outscored my attacking player. The Liverpool game was later in the day, so I didn't know the team. And I was 90% confident that Jota would start, but I wasn't 100% confident that Jota would start. Jota was already a differential for me anyway, so I captained Van Dijk over Jota. But did own both, so that it was fine. It worked out okay. And I bought Areola on Saturday as well. On Sunday, sorry, for Trafford.
Yeah.
That was already a pre-planned move. I mean, the Trafford one game captaincy was like minutes away from coming off for me, so stick to the plan with that.
You had a
save
tier off him, didn't you?
I did, yeah. It was 4 points doubled up was Trafford. So that was okay. So yeah, 19 points from Jota was really helpful. Van Dijk didn't hit a pass tier, but with Bournemouth pressing, I don't know if it's that much of a surprise. And the weather, like it was dog poo. It was like windy, stormy in London, so it was even worse down on the south coast.
Shows Liverpool can win in the wind.
Yeah. And then on the Monday night, James, I only had one player, which was Van Heck.
Wow, what a beauty.
And he came in with 13-pointer, doubled up to 26, right?
Yeah, 26 for Van Heck, yeah.
And that really gave me a nice jump as well. What did Dunk do that day?
10-pointer.
Right, so that little bit makes a little bit of a difference.
Tackle, yeah.
Yeah, that does make a little bit of a difference. And Gross obviously was nothing, right? I don't know if you got a tier or not.
So you had one Brighton player and got 26.
Yeah.
I had all of my free Brighton return and only got 7 points more.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's worked out quite well for me. Feeling fairly confident going into the next week. The only issue for me is the Thursday captaincy next week, where I only have Areola. And,
Same.
I mean, after assault on Sunday, who knows if he'll recover. Thoughts and prayers with him and his mouth bleeding.
He'll be all right.
He'll be fine. But yeah, it's my only captaincy coverage. I'm also not desperate to dive into anybody else on that day, so I'm going to just have to roll with it. There may be people that have got a United asset or Solanke sitting there that may be considered a better option, but despite that, I mean, Areola for save tiers is pretty consistent and good, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, feeling good. Your team?
Yeah, I'd be fine with Areola captain next Thursday. If he wasn't in the team, if he hasn't recovered for whatever reason, then yeah, I would make a transfer. Would maybe, arguably even because of perhaps Wolves' single game day against Sheffield United, maybe just go straight to Salah. And move along that path. It wouldn't be part of my plan now, though.
No.
So yeah, I mean, good returns for me at the weekend. Saliba was all I had. Saturday's a captain, and that was the bigger surprise than Van Dijk note here was Saliba and Gabriel. quite a bit off in terms of the tiering of passing against Crystal Palace.
When Arsenal are winning,
Zinchenko was
what
the
do
only
they
one that hit
do?
it. Well, yeah,
Sit off
a little bit.
Well, you've
yeah.
said it a few times where Arsenal winning, they sit off a little bit.
Yeah, we have seen that historically, in fairness. I had choice between Van Dijk, Areola for captaincy. Sunday went Van Dijk. As I said, I had the 3 Brighton players, Van Heck, Dunk, Gross, Monday. And I went with Gross for the captaincy, which I don't regret that choice particularly, because Brighton putting together back-to-back clean sheets, having not picked up one previously, is a little bit of surprise, and easily could have been Wolves scoring a goal on a counter-attack. Gross easily could have created a goal during the course of the game, so
having
no major regret
double
on that
defence
choice.
kind of counteract it was a differential in itself a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. Good. Cool. So, any kind of planned moves for? It's obviously a set of midweek fixtures: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week.
So, I mean, there's a lot of information to obviously unpack over the next, 6-7 days or so before the Premier League resumes next Tuesday. I think all eyes are very much on Manchester City team lineup next Wednesday, isn't it? As it stands, obviously, we've got the additional fixture with Brentford. The intention right now, as it stands, Suj, if De Bruyne and Haaland are both in that team next week, the intention will be to buy both, I think.
Okay.
Just go for it. Haaland's more promising news yesterday suggests probably still unlikely to play on Friday against Tottenham, but yeah, every chance now that he'll play against Burnley next Wednesday. And I imagine if he's in the lineup, pretty much every engaged player will be trying to get him straight in, with no doubt about it. Particularly even more so if Tottenham and City does end up as a draw in the FA Cup on Friday night. Remember, that single game day with Brentford doesn't happen. Not the rearranged game, the original one, that on Monday, the 5th of February, it'll move back to the Saturday evening. So therefore, your entry point for Manchester City prior to the next game with Brentford would be Burnley next Wednesday. Obviously, I think in the case that, say, a Haaland or a De Bruyne was a substitute and the Brentford game's going to remain on the Monday afterwards, it's probably wait and then go back in again the following Monday. That's the intention at the moment. Adebayo's definitely on the chopping block for me, and then it'll be a case of which Brighton player to move on if I decide I want to go with both. The instinct on that is to bleep machine, cut Lewis Dunk. He was kind of my 11th player choice anyway, believing that Van Heck was pretty safe to go moving forwards. Once I got the Luton game out of the way as well, then Brighton are walking into Tottenham. What's my expectation of a clean sheet there? It's next to none. Every chance they might still hit the passing tiers, but that will be a really difficult game to predict. So I think it will be a good time to cut off a Brighton player for those of us who've gambled and gone with the extra. If you've only just gone the one, like, say yourself, you're obviously not moving Van Heck. That's a given. So that's kind of loose plan at the moment. I think I'd mentioned the idea of getting a Tottenham player next Wednesday as well. That's probably now a non-starter for me. I do like the idea of punting straight into James Maddison if he's back. And should, say, a neither De Bruyne or Haaland be in the lineup next Wednesday, I may then go that route, because I'm definitely not holding Adebayo past next Tuesday. But obviously the Chelsea game now that was scheduled for Friday the 23rd is off. And unlike in the case of Liverpool-Luton getting postponed and we think being brought forward, that's really unlikely to be the case with Chelsea and Tottenham, and with no real captaincy requirement. Other than you can make a case Saturday the 3rd, then not really sure I want to dive into Tottenham next Wednesday. If the game suddenly did get rearranged, I know people speculated that if Chelsea and Tottenham both lost in the FA Cup Friday night, could it just move into the midweek of the FA Cup 5th round, which is the midweek after when it was originally scheduled? I think that's very, very unlikely to happen, even in that scenario, purely because I think Sky have got the rights to the game and they'll probably be wanting to hold that back for later in the season now. And the difference between the Chelsea-Tottenham game, obviously neither team in Europe, so there's no rush. I've already said I'll project it for Thursday night in match week 35 currently, if Chelsea continue to progress in the FA Cup. Whereas the Liverpool game, because of their commitments in the Europa and obviously still being in the FA Cup, the Liverpool-Luton game really has to be brought forward. We can't trust the Premier League to do it, but that in theory should be what happens. So the fact that there's losing of a game, if I bought a Tottenham player in, although Romero, Porro, Maddison all appeal, I'm not sticking the armband on them, so I don't think it's worth it to be honest. Despite it is a good run of 4 fixtures, there's 3 home games in there. Will be a nice differential. There's a few that certainly you can jump off and get sort of effective 4v2s, but unless I had a lot of transfers in the bank, or as said, if De Bruyne and Haaland are not in the Man City team next Wednesday, then I can't really see me going down that route, because inevitably it's almost definitely going to be a transfer back out for me after Tottenham play Wolves on February the 17th. It's particularly if the Crystal Palace game wasn't on the Saturday, the week after the Carabao Cup Final, although it's highly likely it will be. But remember, we said one more after that, the Aston Villa game won't be the Friday or the Saturday. So if you wait one more, there will be a re-entry point back to Tottenham. And should Tottenham be out the FA Cup and Fulham be out the FA Cup, then you definitely will want a Tottenham player back at that point. So might be spin your narrative, might look a bit different after the weekend, where if we can look ahead and know, yeah, Fulham, Tottenham definitely in 29's on. But also remember, we've got Son to come back at some point as well. And it's worth saying, as it stands, time of recording, Japan are playing today, I think. Is it Japan or Korea playing today, Nico? Is it Japan? Japan. Sonny could be back. Not for the Brentford game, and the Everton game would be unlikely, but then by the Brighton game. And that might make things a little bit confusing if, for, say, Richarlison, for example, now that Werner's on board as well. So Sonny might be back a little bit earlier than expected. But yeah, I think it's all eyes on Man City at the moment for next Wednesday and that team lineup, really.
I know where you're coming from. I'm to be honest, I wouldn't say hamstrung, but I have no need to make any transfers as it stands right now. So any transfer that I make will be a want. And like you, it's down to Erling Haaland, target number 1, and Kevin De Bruyne, target number 2. But the way when I look at my team, I'm kind of like, okay, well, where's that transfer coming from? Well, Areola, I'm not moving on at the moment, and he's captaincy coverage for me on Thursday, so there's no way I can move him on. Van Heck, I want to keep as backup captain, and I need him in for the Sheffield United game, which is further down the line. Plus, they've got the home game against Palace. Luton's not a bad fixture, so and he's an enabler, right? I've got both Jota and Van Dijk at the moment. I don't need both for captaincy coverage, but while Salah's away, I don't want to move on Jota, and Van Dijk's Mr. Consistent. I've already got Spurs coverage in there and Romero sitting there. Yep. So, like, you've given the reason for getting one and then holding through. I'm not going to be moving him on particularly.
If I had, I that's absolutely fine. Yeah. Quite agree.
Cole Palmer, he's sitting there for me right now. Again, I want him for captaincy for the Crystal Palace game.
And also maybe Sunday the 4th.
Possibly.
At home to Wolves when Arsenal-Liverpool play each other.
He's not moving on. Ollie Watkins is sitting there right now. Again, I want him for captaincy for the Sheffield United game. And I may want him for the Manchester United home game as well. So I'm not moving Ollie Watkins on. So really the 2 players... So I've got 2 Man City players already, Rodri and Foden.
Same.
Can't be doing a sideways move. I don't feel like sideways Foden to De Bruyne or Foden to Haaland makes sense, assuming Foden's in the team. Ivan Toney, it would be a same-day transfer when they're away at your place. I don't see that as a sensible thing to potentially do because he's there as backup captaincy coverage, and I bought him for a reason, Ivan Toney, to be a bit of a differential at 10% owned. I'm not moving him on. So it becomes Saliba, because after Nottingham Forest, when I'll captain him, Liverpool at home, not great. West Ham, we're likely to score because we do score goals generally, and it's a home fixture for us.
He lit passing tier against you. Even Sheffield United
he will, but what am I giving up West Ham away for? 4 or 5 Man City fixtures. So I think I'll be selling, if Haaland's in the team on the Wednesday, I think I'll be selling Saliba for Haaland, and I'll have to let KDB go. I can't move any of the other players on necessarily for KDB. So I'll get Haaland in, I'll captain Haaland, and I'll let him go.
So who have you got playing next Tuesday? It's just Van Heck?
No. Saliba.
Oh, and Saliba, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just let Saliba go for Haaland, and I'll come back to Saliba when I need to. Because, there's no Arsenal captaincy coverage, and I'm not going to use Liverpool or West Ham away as captaincy coverage. No, there's not. Burnley away, sure, but that's when Man City have got a home game against Chelsea. Or Liverpool have got Brentford, right?
Yeah, what you need to do, if you move Saliba on, I don't hate it, by the way.
It's a 5 for 3.
Not
including captaincies.
You need to hold Palmer, and you need to hold Watkins. You need to hold those 2 players.
Yeah, which is my intention too, as well. So I'm kind of, there's no one I need to move. So And definitely, I'm not going without Haaland. If Haaland's in the team, there's no way I'm going without him. So Saliba will be my sacrifice to move on to him.
The other thing to bear in mind, we do think we'll probably get the March TV fixtures before the weekend.
This weekend?
Yes. Yep. So that will open up the picture a little bit more. You've got to remember, in Arsenal's case, they might be really useful in March. So it's Sheffield United away. There's Brentford at home, which we've said already is basically going to start the game week. It's almost definitely be the Saturday. It could even be the Friday night. And then the Chelsea game, obviously, if Chelsea are out the cup, would go ahead in match week 29 as well. Now, if they're all scheduled as Saturdays, and I've heard a rumour Arsenal-Chelsea might be the 12:30 in FA Cup quarter-final weekend, i.e. TNT might pick it up, you might have a real problem where there's no entry point back to them. That's the only thing.
I can see that, and if captaincy is needed, it's needed. But I'll cross that bridge kind of when I get to it. Like you've said, right now it's City time. Even if I can only get a Haaland for the Burnley game, and then I manoeuvre another move for the Brentford game, Brentford, Everton, Chelsea at home, Brentford again, and then Bournemouth away. For that run, like I want 4 of them. I mean, Foden, Rodri, De Bruyne, Haaland could be season-defining during that period if they go on a little run. So, yeah, I think it is all about focusing on where and when I'm getting the City boys.
Does it feel madness to you? We've not really got any eyes on the defensive players at the moment.
I think there's other good assets defensively, thinking about it. Like, I'm happy with Van Dijk. Maybe I've got rose-tinted glasses from just having a little bit of a nice return from him, but it was comfortably in tier 2, 80-something passes. I think Van Dijk is there. Without Salah there at the moment, obviously, as Liverpool coverage, got a question, when is Salah coming back and do we want to get back to him? And Romero, and there's other defensive assets.
What's also complicated this week as well, it's not just Haaland back in training, John Stones as well. So that potentially complicates things. And we've
complicated for who? Everybody above them and below them in the chase for the title, basically.
Everybody who wants to invest in City defensive players for Sky Fantasy. So Walker and Gvardiol, you might have seen the Newcastle game, playing really advanced. I think part of that is you can't move any of the centre-backs into midfield because none of them are good enough or capable. Akanji's the only other one that he's trusted to do the job, and he's also been absent. And he's probably behind Stones in his recovery now. Now, Stones coming back in can have an impact on everybody else in the team in terms of their position, all the way up to Phil Foden, by the way, in terms of where he plays on the pitch. So that really muddies the water, I think, because then I think, well, he'll want Stones part of that. Walker will play regularly enough, but there's never anything with it. He doesn't hit the passing tier as regularly as you'd want for a Man City player, and he doesn't really contribute much offensively. You keep looking at Diaz, but there's Ake. He can bring Gvardiol inside. Akanji might be back soon. Yeah, it's easier with the forward players, remarkably, than defensively. So it means people look at Ederson again, inevitably. Which, look, they're going to have extra fixtures. It's not terrible. You just need Man City to be returning the clean sheets, basically. Because you know what it is with him. It's 2 points or 9 points, right, basically, the majority of the time. I think we should also, Suj, have a quick chat about Salah.
Yes.
Because I think there should be an awareness at this point that we might not go back. And I realise a lot of teams have obviously set up a little bit like mine as well to make sure that I can get back there. What we've got to factor in, I think, is what his agent said about the 3 to 4 week deadline. So I mentioned on yesterday's podcast about the Brentford game being Saturday, the 17th of February. So 12:30 kickoff. We do see the Liverpool team. You'd need Egypt to basically not win AFCON, which is still possible, remarkably, I think, to make sure he's not gone partying for a week. So he might return from injury and go partying in Egypt for a week. I have no idea. But AFCON will be finished. So in theory, if he's available and back from injury, he should, at worst case, be able to play against Brentford on Saturday, February the 17th. But he might not be back. Now, the Luton game, obviously, if Liverpool win tonight, there's every chance it will get brought forward. What you need to remember with that is, if it does get brought forward, it will be Wednesday the 21st. So it will be a different night from Manchester City, Brentford. But unlike in the case of Manchester City, there is no extra fixture for Liverpool. What we'll be doing, it would be no different effective to moving the Liverpool-Luton game to the Friday night rather than the Wednesday. It psychologically plays tricks with you, but just think of it like that. It would be like having Liverpool-Luton just move to the Friday night rather than the Wednesday, if that's what happens. So there's no extra fixture. And then after that, obviously, in the weekend, they won't play. There's Forest away, which, subject to where it lands, might be manageable in terms of not having him. Then it's City at home. And then Everton away is scheduled for FA Cup quarter-final weekend. Which,
you've got it down for a Sunday at the moment.
Well, Liverpool play in Europe the Thursday before. So if it goes ahead, or if Liverpool play in the FA Cup quarter-final that weekend, they have to play on the Sunday.
Or no fixture.
It's internationals the week after. So that's why there's 4 fixtures in match week 29 of the FA Cup quarterfinals that, if they go ahead, have to be on the Sunday. That involves the 4 teams. Villa, Brighton, West Ham, Liverpool are obviously in Europa competitions. So even that, if the Everton game did even go ahead, you could, well, it's a Sunday entry point, you can go back. We might sit here without Mo Salah for the next 2 months. If this injury prolongs beyond, I think, the Brentford game.
Is that then strengthening the case for, if you've got Liverpool assets at the moment, like a Van Dijk or what have you, hold them through?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Because if you don't want to go back to Salah, you've got that backup coverage.
Yeah, I mean, I would look at that. Think of it like this. If Mo Salah was playing Luton on a Friday night and that was his first game back, and you knew he wasn't going to play, obviously, for, say there was no gain on what's coming afterwards, would you buy him back on a Friday night? Now it's Mo. You'd see the team. There is a case to do it. But it'd also make the case and go, well, I think that's a 10-pointer for Van Dijk here. Do I need to? Can I take it on and leave a transfer in the bank to go back for him later on? So my thought process at the moment would maybe even be that I don't go back for Mo. Now, if Mo's back in that team against Brentford on Saturday the 17th and I can see the lineup, even though there's no particular gain, I would maybe just get on with it and do it, quite possibly. So I think we need to keep our eyes and ears closed. At the moment, it looks like he probably won't be back for the Burnley game on Saturday the 10th of February. And what comes before, he's not going to be fit for either way anyway. So I think there's 2 paths to consider. One is leaving it open to get back to him, and I think most of us should do that. But also the solution might be not to do so. So it's complicated, I think.
Well, look, this is that time of the year where things become clearer. So, like you said, potentially March TV fixtures, FA Cup 4th round, and we know what's happening with that. We know what's going to happen tonight with Liverpool, but let's just wait and see and double confirm.
How do we know what's going to happen tonight?
No, well, 80% likely, but let it get confirmed.
Fulham are at home to Liverpool.
Cool, Fulham. And
Fulham win by a goal, it goes straight to penalties.
Yeah, let's just see how we get on. But we'll have a lot more information by the time we record this time next week. But we'll be in the middle of a game week. Wow. Let's cover off captaincy before you can let us know what happened with the tiering points over the 5 games. And we've had a few questions in on the internet. Saliba for me, simple. A choice is Saliba or Van Heck. And I think I'm going to go Saliba. Even though Forest are in good form.
Are you not considering Watkins as a choice? Newcastle 19th record for away teams this season. 2nd worst.
Shouldn't I?
Well, I think it's close. I certainly wouldn't rule him out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like Saliba. I think Forest will score in that game. They've been attacking under Nuno, so I think Forest have got a goal in them. Luton as well, I think will be lumping balls in the box, and they've got a big physical team. I think I back Luton to score at home as well. So I don't really see clean sheets out of Van Heck and Saliba. So you're right. I think if that's the case, then what am I looking at? Just the 4-pointer or something like that? He
hauled in the same fixture last season as well. I know it doesn't hold too much relevance.
It's going to be close. What are you doing? I'll copy you.
To be honest, I couldn't say with certainty, but I think my instinct would be probably Watkins.
Yeah.
Home fixture, Villa Park. Yeah, I would probably go down that route, I think.
Okay.
That's got the bigger upside. That's got the bigger upside for me. So I think probably Watkins, and his ownership is massive, right? The Wednesday, well, it's like a scaling of Manchester City players subject to who's available.
I think, though, if it's not Haaland or De Bruyne, I do think, and I know, obviously, we'll see the team. If Jota's in the team, I may consider Jota,
Over Foden?
Yeah.
If Haaland and
Chelsea.
De Bruyne weren't in the team, I captain Foden next Wednesday.
Yeah, if Haaland and De Bruyne aren't, I may go Jota, because I just think Liverpool at Anfield, they could do some damage against Chelsea. And I think they will. Whereas, I mean, City could, but that's City without 2 of their best players. And obviously, Vinny Company going back there, I think he's going to want to dig in. Now, that doesn't really help because City will do what they want to do.
You know what I'm absolutely relieved about next Wednesday? That Man City's 7:30 kickoff. Obviously, we see the lineups for all the teams, but I'll be at Tottenham, won't I? I don't need 15 minutes before kickoff. Well, what's the Man City team? It's not on my head. So, little 5 minutes outside the ground at 6:30 before I go in. That's the plan.
What's going on with your defenders? Shall I captain Tony?
You're not going to captain Tony over a Man City player.
Yeah, I'm not. I would just like to captain Tony and him haul against Tottenham.
As it stands,
that would be double bubble.
Our luck will probably pick up an injury on Friday night, but Tottenham will be playing with their first choice defence.
My choice on the Thursday is Areola, so I will just be sticking with Areola.
Yeah, that's my plan. Did you give any thought to buying Bowen on Sunday? I did think about it.
No. Bowen without his mates.
Yeah, that's the conclusion I came to as well. But he or Kudos is probably the best captaincy next Thursday, aren't they?
Yeah, on paper, yeah. Yeah, without doubt.
Kudos, he's definitely coming back. You've seen his interview after the game?
He was pretty...
Someone was giving him a man of the match. Have you seen it?
Upset.
It's just thanks for voting for me. Tell you when it's
come home, my guy. Let's come home.
So one of Bowen's mates is coming back.
Yes, and he's got a new mate coming as well. So 7.1, James.
The other thing with Bowen is, as we've said previously, and you can obviously enter on that night, and I think it's similar will apply to Tony, although you probably want to go a bit earlier. Obviously, that West Ham Brentford game, we now know Monday the 26th of February, he's on. That I would feel less I don't know why, but I'd feel less comfortable about captaining Areola that night. Perhaps because it's a single game day, and I know there will be a few little bits of Wolves knocking about on the Thursday the 1st. And I know Kudos will have no ownership at the moment. A lot of people have gone without Bowen. And maybe see a build-up coming towards that Monday night where it will feel more necessary to have one of the offensive ones.
But end-to-end Arsenal, which is a Sunday?
Well, you could enter on the night, can't you?
Yeah,
on West
true.
Ham Brentford.
True.
Subject to perhaps what the outlook is for the FA Cup quarter-final weekend.
Yeah, but then you're getting close to Europa League starts again around then and stuff.
What you've got to factor in, and we obviously said about those 4 teams that would play on the Sunday in Europa involvement FA Cup quarter-final weekend. For the other 6 games, you've got to consider that any one of them that's on could easily end up as a single game day on, say, the Friday night. And the fact that we know Burnley-Brentford will definitely go ahead, and we think the TV game is going to be selected this week, I would not be surprised if Burnley-Brentford was picked up for TV.
Cool.
Probably on the Friday night as well, by the way.
Let's talk about tier points from the 5 games at the weekend, James.
It's not a huge amount to cover and learn from this. I mean, we've already mentioned the surprise of basically only Zinchenko hitting passing tier for Arsenal players, 79 passes. It's worth saying Declan Rice certainly would have hit a passing tier, came off with 20 minutes to go. He was on 54 passes, so he would have hit it. But Saliba, 53, again more than Gabriel. That pattern is continuing. Gabriel, 44, but it is surprising how low it was. Joachim Anderson, 45 for Palace. It's the game state narrative, as we've said in the past. So Zinchenko owners, you've got passing tier and tackle tier. I don't suppose there'll be many of them because I think it was a doubt at overhaul point as well. David Raya, 5 saves, didn't feel like it. Martinelli obviously came on and scored twice, inevitably hit shots here. Jefferson Lerman, Eze shots here. Tyreek Mitchell, who's a regular in the tackle tiers, obviously picked it up as well. Not a single tier in the Brentford Forest game, Suj. Not one. Not even a tackle tier. Absolutely nothing. Matt Turner made 2 saves. No player had more than 1 shot on target. The highest for passing...
And that's in a 3-2 as well, so it's not like it was a boring drab 0-0.
No, it was very enjoyable watch. The highest for passing was Oriol Mangala of Nottingham Forest, 55. The 2 centre-backs for Forest, Murillo and Omar Bamadelli, 26, 25 respectively. Pinnock and Collins for Brentford, all 38, 39, 39. Sorry, Nicholas Dominguez actually had the most passes, 58. Basically played right midfield, so it's an odd one. Tackles, no one got more than tackles in the game as well. So with Brentford, I only think people will be looking at Tony moving forward anyway. And Bumo's not likely to be fit before the rearranged City game. Sheffield United, West Ham, Arnil Hodzic, 68 passes, Suj, into tier 1 tackles. You know, the most passes was for West Ham, Suj?
Ooh, Ben Johnson. Is the only one who played any football when he came on.
Yes, Ben Johnson is not the correct answer.
It's going to be one of the midfielders. JWP
yeah,
maybe.
Ward-Prowse, 39.
Yeah, wasn't. We gave up a lot of possession in that game.
Zuma 24 and Mavropanos 20 passes complete against Sheffield United, mate.
That's passes completed. They attempted another 50. They just cocked them up.
just absolutely shit. I mean,
dear. Yeah, wasn't a great game.
Vinicius Souza in midfield, 49 for Sheffield United, and he gave a lot of passes away during the game as well. Suchet in tackles, Danny Ings shots, Ben Brereton Diaz full debut, obviously goal shots here as well. Areola was in the saves, as mentioned. Jared Bowen, not a single shot on target in the game. Bournemouth and Liverpool, Marcus Tavernier, 7 tackles, 1. Neto made saves. The headline being, I think, again, Van Dijk not in the passing tier. Ibrahima Konate was 71. So a lot more. And it's quite interesting that because Joe Gomez obviously played left back, hit 44, similar number to Van Dijk. And Conor Bradley, who I thought performed quite well at right back, only 21 completed as well. So I don't know if it was going into Van Dijk and then funneling straight into midfield areas. Alexis McAllister, a little bit of a mini haul, 63 passes completed, 9 tackles.
Wow.
1 as well. And his 2 midfield partners, Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, also picked up tier 1 tackles. Nunez and Jota, obviously, in the shot tier. It was tier 2 for Darwin Nunez. From Brighton Wolves, Mario Lemina, 7 tackles, 1. The 2 keepers, Sarr and Steele, in save tier. João Pedro, I think those who owned probably would have gambled him captain, I think, quite a lot. He would have, I said yesterday, he would have frustrated the life out of you. So often took an extra shot. He did have 2 on target. He also, I think, a sign of Brighton's dominance in the game in terms of possession stats, 48 passes completed for João Pedro, who did very much have a lean towards the left side. He basically finishes the left wing back in the game very late on. Estupinan just into tier 2 passing. There was some passes found overnight from Opta. 70 completed. Pascal Gross 87. Van Heck 86. Dunk and Gilmore both over 100. 119 for Lewis Dunk. 106 for Billy Gilmore. And I think Gilmore is an enabler who will play quite a bit over this period. But I think most probably aren't on and most won't get to. And by the time you think, I can do that, their European fixtures will start up again and you'll think, well, I don't really want to do that anymore. So, as I said previously, I think Van Heck, he's not going to play every game like Dunk does, but I think he's going to play enough to make the saving. But obviously with them playing Tuesday, your entry points gone up till basically Sunday the 18th, Sheffield United. Then after that, it's Everton at home. Then it's possibly FA Cup 5th round. Then they've got Fulham away. Then Europe starts up again. So I think those on call, those who I don't see why people would be adding Brighton now. Probably if there was any extra, probably happened on Monday, I think.
Cool. Should we answer off some of the questions that we've had in on the internet, James?
Shoot.
Yeah, it's just a few. Some of them are quite easy. We'll start with Andrew McGill. Who would you bring in if you had no cover next Thursday the 1st? If it was a West Ham player, you possibly could have gone Sunday just gone. But if you didn't want to and you wanted to hold a player for the Tuesday, Wednesday fixture that they have, you'd say that probably still a West Ham player, right?
Yeah, I think so now. Kudos will be back,
Yeah, and possibly him. Go Calvin Phillips. Go on. Be fruity, James.
It's not done yet, is it?
End of the week. He's just getting his medical. He was flying back from Turkey or somewhere. So.
You'll be hoping he gets tackled here because he don't get bloody passing tier.
What did he do when he was at Leeds? Was he any good in this game?
Yeah, it certainly was one to keep an eye on. He was the hub of the team. They very much played a 4-1-4-1 with him at the base, right? So much went through him.
Yeah. So, I don't think he'll be, if we were doing it would be more likely a double pivot alongside Alvarez, but he'll be the one that takes the ball and keeps it moving and ticks along. We always had
people like Rafinha, Dallas, Meslier, even Pascal Struijk a little bit, Bamford up front, that the eyes were never really on him. But did he tick over? Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what he does. But yeah, more likely an attacking player. Have a look at maybe Kudus or Bowen.
I think, for me, it would probably be one of those two. It might even be that you'd go in for 4 games, come off, particularly if you did need coverage for Sunday the 18th or Monday the 19th. Because Sunday the 18th is not brilliant. You need to bear that in mind if you've only got a couple of Brighton as well. So it's Sheffield United, Brighton, Luton, Manchester United. So you could make a case for United player that there's possibly 2 captaincies in there. Wolves away and then Luton away. West Ham and Villa in between doesn't inspire confidence. But could you punt? You know, say you've kept excess back for Salah. Could you punt a Marcus Rashford for something? I wouldn't advise it, but yeah, you could do.
If you're chasing, perhaps.
Also, Wolves player. So we know Wolves are going to have that single game day with Sheffield United Sunday the 25th.
It's quite a way away, though.
Yeah, and I think it'll be easy enough to get to it as
it's
it will.
too far away for me to want to think about that in my decision making.
Yeah, I think so. But Cunha, I think. I would go Cunha rather than a Manchester United player. The other thing to factor in, of course, as well is if Son's back soon, Hwang will be back soon. So that game, if Korea played Japan in the last 16, the Asia Cup, that game's next Wednesday. Is it impossible that Hwang could even be on the bench against Manchester United the following day? He certainly wouldn't start, but I guess it's not impossible. But he would be coming back into that team on top of what you see. Neto is obviously back available. Also factor in February 1st is deadline day.
Transfer deadline.
When the game is, yeah. And Gary O'Neill did say again on Monday night that they hope to get a loan forward in before the window shuts as well. So I think with those things added up, Wolves is probably more a comeback to, because we even though it's transfer deadline day, you might not have all the info.
Lee, FPL Hall of Fame. I started with Haaland for overhaul. Was too busy to change it. What to do with him now? Well, I keep him.
Hope that he plays next Wednesday.
It's just quite simple. Keep him.
That.
And FPL Dummy Tom. Best Doherty replacement, straight to Erling. Well, if you got the money to go from...
Doherty?
Doherty.
That's an interesting...
Yeah, I was confused as to... I had to think he's got to be Matt Doherty, surely. And maybe he had him for captaincy coverage for Monday because he didn't punt a Brighton player, which kind of might make sense.
So,
but if you can go straight to Erling Haaland from Doherty, makes perfect sense.
Do it. Even though there's no gain...
Captaincy and
no, but you know what's really important? Ait Nouri went out of AFCON last night. It's Algerian. So he's back. So, I mean, and I've spoken in the past, particularly on the FPL
coming
pods,
home then as well.
How important Ait Nouri is to their structure. So it will go straight back in the team, almost certainly. So as long as he comes through the West Brom game on Sunday, which will be a big game for them, unscathed, Doherty won't play against Manchester United. So, yeah, it's a sell.
Yeah, so Aged's coming back for us, isn't he? Come home, Naif.
No, is he not Moroccan, Suj?
Oh, is he Moroccan?
Yes, mate.
My apologies, Naif. Right. Next question comes in from Ian. Should I take out Saka and Watkins after they play on Tuesday? Both useless and never normally in my team. Don't reckon Watkins will do much against Sheffield United anyways. Haaland coming back solves half the equation. I think there's a lot to unpack there. I don't agree that both are useless. It just come off the back of a 5-0 and unfortunately Saka didn't return. He got just an assist.
Saka will be sold a lot next Wednesday.
I'm on for selling Saka just because what else is there? So I think, yeah, selling Saka is perfectly fine, but I don't agree that he's useless. But also, Watkins will not do much against Sheffield United. I don't agree with that either, potentially. So
also factor in, if those are your only 2 players from those 2 clubs, i.e. if you don't have Saliba, you probably do. But if you don't, then you've left yourself without a captaincy for Sunday the 11th, when Arsenal go to West Ham and Villa host Manchester United. Now, of course, you can buy back on the day. It's a Sunday, but it's something to bear in mind. Watkins, he's saying about useless against Sheffield United potentially.
Captain in that night.
Yeah, I mean, that's my plan as well.
There
are
I'll be
alternatives.
In that night, man.
And I have thought about this in the sense, if I moved him on, what would I do on that Saturday? So probably Tottenham at Everton for the likes of Romero. I think particularly you would argue, yeah, Parson Tier you could fancy. That's perfectly reasonable. I wouldn't have any Tottenham. So I'd then be relying on a Brighton player again against Crystal Palace. But I'd deem that okay, subject to what it is. Like particularly if you held on to Dunk, particularly. Yeah, Dunk at home to Palace on Saturday the 3rd is perfectly reasonable. I'd probably be a bit more shaky about Van Heck under that circumstance, not seeing the team, but just because it's then they'll play Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and they think, oh no, wobble potentially. So for me, if I've already moved Dunk on, it'll probably be Gross would be the fullback, but therefore, yeah, for me, my intention would be to keep Watkins.
Agreed. And last but not least, Robert Pugsley says, why is Sky unavailable to play outside of the UK, or is it only Canada where I am, where it is unavailable?
Just Canada.
Yes, mate. It's the guys at South Park. You know, they always blame Canada. Get that meme in there if you can.
Isn't it Kill Canada?
No, it's blame Canada, isn't it?
Wasn't
Whenever
it
shit goes wrong in America.
Wasn't it Kill Canada? Wasn't that the song?
Need to find the right one. I thought it was Blame Canada.
I've been to Canada. I love Canada.
Exactly
just for
that. And Robert, it's not you. It's not Canada. It's everywhere outside of the UK because it is linked to Sky Bet and it's a betting account that you're actually creating.
VPN website you can play, but good luck claiming the prize. That's always the same problem we tell people.
Yeah, we had that call, didn't we, from the VPN provider who want to sponsor the show.
Is it?
Yeah. So, but they ain't paid us no money yet. So,
so next week
we'll tell you which VPN provider to use. Come on, guys. James, it is definitely Blame Canada. And on that note, that's it. That's all the questions we've had. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Planet SkyFF. If you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/planetfpl, where you'll get ad-free episodes where we won't be plugging any VPNs. You also get access to James's spreadsheet, which is a really good way of playing Sky. It helps you plan out where the gaps are, where the potential 3-for-1s, 2-for-1s, 5-for-2s, whatever they may be, are. Additional content each and every weekday. Advanced tier gets 2 bits of content every day and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Patreon.com/planetfpl. If you want us there. What's coming up tomorrow, James?
COTC tomorrow's Wolves versus Manchester United, which might be a relevant one for next Thursday, with Bradley Park and Gary Robinson. We've obviously had our FPL review yesterday. Forest Arsenal might be relevant for next Tuesday. We talk about Saka a lot, actually. And I think those who've got may well still end up captaining next week. Mark Southerns, Adam Pritchard, that's available for you. And a heads up for Monday's pod, which will be FPL related in terms of it's very much chip related, but there will be a lot of stuff on there in terms of where fixtures may and may not go, which we'll obviously have a much clearer idea of after the weekend. So if that's particularly important for you in terms of relevance for players next Tuesday, I recommend listening to that on Monday. We will obviously cover the Sky relevant stuff again next Wednesday.
And if you want to know when those shows go live, just hit the subscribe button, notification bell, whatever it may be on the platform of your choice, and you'll get notified straight away. Other than that, it just leaves me to say, stay safe, look after yourselves, blame Canada, ciao for now.
I'm not doing that as the title, and that's all I can think of. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Cue music, please, Manchild. Blame Canada. I'm sure they did one where it was Kill Canada. Maybe don't put into Google Kill Canada. I don't know. You might get flagged.